Welcome to Massive Late Fee. And now your hosts, Mark and Carol.
Well, hello everyone. Welcome back to Massive Late Fee. My name is Mark. With me, as always, is my wife, Carol. How are you doing today, Carol?
Hey, what's up?
Not much. It's been a good week here. It is November 19th, 1990 of the nines.
It is.
So, Carol and I watched the scariest horror movie of the year. The Story of Us. I feel like had we watched this before we got married, that it would hit differently than it does now.
Yeah.
But it does feel like a horror movie because this is like every couple's worst nightmare.
Yeah.
Is this shit.
Yeah, but I mean, I think it's common. I think the fighting and, all the problems they're having are common. It's just how people deal with them,
Yeah. It's the scariest part too is like they've been married a while, right? And it's like you always worry about like when you get married, it's like, like rough times, good times and stuff like that. But like you hear about these stories about like my parents were married for like 22 years before they got divorced.
It's so crazy.
Now there were problems from day one.
Sure.
And they just got worse and worse and worse and everything. And, at some point, people can't take it anymore, I guess. But you always worry about, like, is that going to happen, like, 25 years? Are you going to change?
Yeah.
It's a long time. That's like 25 years from now, what are we going to be? Are we going to be way different than we are now?
Yeah. Well,
and,
yeah, I think they were married for 15 years.
Okay, that makes sense.
And their kiddos looked to be probably about 12, 13.
Yeah, in that range, yeah.
They didn't have a ton of time without kids, it seems.
I guess not. No, not like us. Well, we've got a ton of time without kids. We've been married, almost a year-ish?
Almost.
Yeah, so.
That's lots of time.
Whatever.
Anyway.
We got that cake burning a hole in the freezer.
Yeah.
To eat.
Best cake I ever had.
Uh-huh. I'll make you a better cake.
Okay.
I don't know. I was going to try to do something sexual with
I knew
cake,
you were, but
I couldn't figure it out. So, anyway, what did you think of The Story of Them?
The Story of Us. I
Us.
loved it.
Yeah, well, it's not technically us, it's them, but yeah.
I think it was a really great movie. Bruce Willis did great acting, just like he did in Sixth Sense.
Yeah, fresh off his role as guy going through marital problems, but it's because he's a ghost in the Sixth Sense.
And Michelle Pfeiffer is always amazing.
Yep. She's so small.
You think?
She's just a tiny woman.
Yeah. I mean, she's very thin.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like she's very small.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I really enjoyed it. It made me laugh a lot too. Like it was sad, I cried, but I also laughed. It was funny.
It was funny. It was sad. Yeah, it ran the gamut of emotion.
For sure.
Yeah, Rob Reiner. Mm-hmm. Rob Reiner directs movies and then like casts himself in the movie in like the small role. It's weird to me.
Why?
He does it a lot.
Don't a lot of directors do that?
I don't know if a lot of directors do it. I mean, some directors do it, but
I mean, Stephen King's always he's not a director, he's a writer, but he's always in his movies.
Yeah, that's an Alfred Hitchcock thing because Hitchcock used to do that. Mm-hmm. He'd have a cameo in like whatever movie, and Stephen King does that too.
I think it's fine.
Yeah, I mean, it's all right.
And Paul Reiser was in it.
He was an actor, so yeah, Paul Reiser playing like a role that I feel like Richard Lewis should play or something like that.
Who's Richard Lewis?
He's a stand-up comedian.
Ah.
But he has that kind of like he's like fucking sleek, scummy kind of agent man.
Okay.
Because he's an agent. He's always wearing glasses. He has sunglasses on the entire time. He's like, I'm gonna be Jewish agent. That's my role. I don't even know his name.
Secret agent man.
He must be good friends with Rob Reiner because Rob Reiner and he were in Bye Bye Love together.
Okay. I don't remember.
You don't remember Bye Bye Love?
I remember Bye Bye Love. I don't remember the actor you're talking about.
Rob Reiner?
No, I know Rob Reiner. He was the DJ. The other one.
Paul Reiser?
Okay, what am I? Is that who you were talking about? 'Cause
Yes.
Oh, never mind.
You having a stroke?
Apparently.
You mentioned both of these people and how you like their work.
And you were connecting them.
I guess Rob Reiner was an actor before, too. You know, because he was on All in the Family.
Okay.
He was Meathead.
Oh my God, really? I didn't know that.
Yes, that's him.
It's so weird. It's so weird when people are like one way and then you see them like a decade later and they look completely different.
Yeah, well, he had that 70s hair and mustache going and stuff like that in that show.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's Carl Reiner's son. We're in the movie theater. The movie's starting. The credits are playing and everything. And Carol leans over to me and goes, "Who's Red Buttons?"
So it's such a weird name.
One of these people's name is Red Buttons. And I said, he's a fucking comedian from like the 50s.
Yeah, sorry, I don't know all these people, you know, because
ends-
I wasn't alive in the 50s like apparently you.
He ends up being Bruce Willis's dad.
Yeah.
He and Betty White.
They do an interesting scene with Bruce Willis and Michelle Pfeiffer in bed together.
Yeah.
And like they've seen a lot of therapists apparently trying to save their marriage.
Mm-hmm.
And one of them said there's always 6 people in bed, the 2 of you and each of your parents.
I think that's pretty fucked up.
It's very fucked up.
They did say he was a Freudian, so
Yeah.
I guess that tracks.
But yeah, it was, I guess, a little funny, but
I feel like Rob Reiner did that for his dad. Because, like, these were people that would have... everyone in there were people that were, like, popular or, like, they would have been buddies with his dad.
Okay.
With Carl Reiner. Because, like, Red Buttons, like, same era. Betty White, same era. Tom Poston, not. Because Tom Poston was Michelle Pfeiffer's dad. Mm-hmm. You might remember him from Newhart. He was
probably not
the handyman, and then of course Jane Meadows was Dot, that her mom, and Jane Meadows was fucking famous as hell.
Yeah.
Jane Meadows?
Nope. Don't know Jane Meadows, and I truly don't remember her parents in the bed. Like I know they were there, but they didn't make an impression.
Not even Dot, who was all like, the some problems can't be solved or whatever. And then all of a sudden she's like, well, maybe we can't solve these problems.
Yeah, well, and then he was parroting everything his parents were saying in his head.
Yeah,
but then he started screaming at her.
Talking about the Andrews sisters.
Yeah. But he started screaming at her. It was not cool. Like, I want to see that scene again without the parents because it was really distracting.
That's a very interesting thought, actually.
And I feel like he was mean to her, but maybe it's just because I'm a female. I don't know, but I feel like he was being a dick, especially he wants to have sex.
Yeah, exactly. Come on, start begging, man. I feel like we should have a series of fights discussing this movie, like, and being on different sides. We should make our own fights based on, like, we should get into. I'm saying, like, this movie should get us into fights.
Okay.
This movie should ruin marriages, is what I'm saying. No, so it's really interesting. This movie, to me, and I'm not gonna. I know sometimes we talk about cinematography. Sometimes I try to get a little more as technical as I can get because I'm not fully versed on all this stuff. I know we talk about that stuff sometimes. Rob Reiner's a great director. He's not David Lynch or something like that. There's not going to be a lot of visual flair necessarily. It's a very competently made movie on a technical level. It doesn't stand out. I wouldn't say like, oh, this should be up for best whatever. Mm-hmm. But it does the movie does everything it needs to do. Basically, what I'm saying is, from this point on, we're going to discuss mostly the story and the characters, like the acting, and we're going to talk about it from more of a character and plot point of view than like a technical point of view. Okay. So, for all you tech heads out there waiting for me to talk about the warmth or coolness of the color palette, depending on Michelle Pfeiffer's mood, it's not going to happen.
Well, I don't even think that was a thing in this movie anyway.
Okay. But anyway, what's interesting to me, characterization wise, is this is a glimpse. This is like, I'm not even sure exactly how to describe this, but we are not, even though it's a very intimate film, we are not getting an intimate look at their lives.
No.
We are getting a vignette, quick, cursory look at their lives. Like, spoilers for the movie. I'm going to spoil the end for you guys, okay? Because it is sort of almost a surprise at the end.
It is.
They start out doing like a documentary style thing where they're talking to the camera. It's very, she's having a baby. I don't know if you've ever seen that, but it reminds me of that movie. And they're talking to each other, they're talking about marriage and stuff like that and everything. And they're separated. They're in separate shots always. At the end of the movie, they're together because they get back together. Mm-hmm. Bruce Willis does talk about happy endings and stuff like that. So it's I guess sort of a foreshadow to it. Mm-hmm. At the end of the movie, I briefly thought to myself, it doesn't 100% feel earned.
Okay.
That all of a sudden they're back together and everything. Michelle Pfeiffer gives this amazing emotional like speech and plea at the end where she starts to just go stream of consciousness. Mm-hmm. And it's great. It's a great scene. And I'm sure we'll talk more about that specific scene. But I mean, other than that, we don't ever see we don't see them doing the work, like the day-to-day work to make the marriage better.
Oh, I don't think they did. And I found myself wondering what's going to change. Are they really going to stay together?
Right.
Because, yeah, she wasn't ready to tell the kids. She wasn't ready to have it be over. But, that could also be a cold feet, hand on the door. Doesn't mean they're not going to break up.
I don't think they're going to break up, though. I mean, from the movie's perspective, the perspective the movie wants us to have, because, when the movie's over, we can make up our own story, who the hell knows. But I think what the movie wants to leave us with, and it did leave me with this feeling, is they're not going to break up. They're in it for the long haul. And like I said, I had that brief thought of, this is somewhat unsatisfying. But then I realized it's only unsatisfying because we're not seeing the detail. In none of these things, their problems, like any of these fights, we're not seeing this is a huge overview of this life that they have together. And there is not detail here. And it's by design. It's to give us a brief glimpse at, I feel like there's a veil around couples. Pretty much all couples, there's a bubble where the two of you are inside of it. And even if you have kids, even if you have in-laws or whatever that are very close to you and stuff like that, you have relationships with those people. And there are some things that pass through, kind of like the blood-brain barrier in the body. But there are things that never pass out of that bubble that are only between those two people. And I feel like the movie didn't even try to penetrate that bubble because that's not what the movie wanted to be.
Yeah.
And when I thought about it in that way, I said, you know what? To me, they just did the work. They had several conversations after this before the documentary was filmed because I feel like this is a few years into the future. This the documentary that they're making, and that they did all this stuff, but that's the everyday minutia kind of stuff, and that's not what the movie's about. The movie's about the broad strokes of relationships.
Well, here's the thing, too, though. I mean, we are given at least a hint that they have done a lot of work. Mm-hmm. Because they've been to see more than one therapist. Mm-hmm. And they've had, it was like a year ago, they were talking about their kids were at camp. They went on a vacation trying to get closer. So they've been putting work into their marriage and their relationships and addressing their problems for more than a year, probably several years.
I think I mean, we just saw the movie, so hard to know exactly. Like, I'd have to see it a couple more times to. Whenever you talk about plot, characterization, whenever you talk about the movie's intention, the underlying themes and stuff, it's, for me anyway, there are some people that can do it right away, I'm sure. But for me, I like to see something a few times before I can really like start penetrating through all that stuff and figure it out. But on first blush, to me, the point of view of the movie is that all the work that they were doing and stuff like that, none of that works. Like the therapists and stuff like that and everything. Not that therapists don't work at all, but like what they were trying to do wasn't working. And I think this is what the movie, it's like the glass breaking light bulb moment for both of them, is when he finally sees, like, it's like he sees himself through her eyes, like he said. I think the point of view of the movie is the key to successful relationships is empathy, basically. Is being able to see and understand each other. They talk about that a few times about, like, he says, like, no one ever got me and she got me. And, like, I feel like maybe she did a little bit, but I don't think he feels like he's gotten. He didn't during this marriage. And I think it's the same thing for her. She doesn't feel like she's gotten either. And there's that scene where they were replaying all the arguments and stuff like that, and it's all shot from her point of view. So, like, it's not a point of view shot, but it's shot, like, the camera's mounted, like, behind her facing towards him. We're seeing him yell, do all that stuff and everything when we're replaying it and everything.
Huh. I did not realize that.
And, I mean, it's to subtly indicate that he's seeing things from her side now. When he's going through all that stuff. And then he says to her, he's like, I saw myself through your point of view. And, like, he apologizes and everything. And then she has a similar thing later where she sees herself as, like, being crazy and shit like that and everything. And I think that's when they have that revelation of, like, who am I? Like, what am I doing? Like, kind of thing for both of them. And I do think, like, the one thing I wish is that we got a little bit more of what is wrong with Bruce Willis.
Yeah, well, yeah, agreed, because it's pretty obvious what the fuck's wrong with her.
Yeah.
But I also want to know what the problems that he was talking to this other woman about were. Because
I definitely want to get to that.
It seems like they keep going back to, they were fighting about, he was talking about their problems with someone at work, that she caught him talking to them. But we never find out what they were talking about. And it's like the problems seem to have started there, but obviously they started before then.
Right.
Because he was talking to her about them. So what the fuck were they?
Yeah, and that's a big, crucial point in their marriage. It's obviously something she had until the end of the movie. It's obviously something she had not gotten over.
Right.
There's like I said, this movie almost feels like a series of vignettes of, like, different scenes, and, like, now we're gonna show you a montage of a bunch of different stuff happening all through different years, but it works.
It does.
They have dueling lunches. The three guys and then their three wives, they're having lunch at different locations, and they're having conversations about
sex.
Yeah, sex and all this stuff and everything.
Well, no, because neither of the main characters are discussing that they're separated or anything they're going through. It's the other two that are talking about their sex problems.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. But what was I going to say?
Sorry,
I completely lost where I was going with this now.
Dueling lunches.
No. Oh, we were talking about the phone call that he had with the woman.
It wasn't a phone call.
No. He was telling the woman about that. She suggests, because the women are talking about, like, affairs and stuff like that and everything. And one of them says, like, a kiss isn't an affair. And Michelle Pfeiffer is like, oh, a kiss is definitely an affair. And she was like, any kind of relationship that you form with another person that cuts out the, like, that is an infringement on the Okay, just say what you want to say because you're shaking your head at me. What?
She said any kind of intimacy that you have with another person, even if it's just talking.
Yeah, even if it's just talking, that's the point. Thank you. Like that's the point. You're looking like I was like completely fucking it up, but I mean I was getting there.
I mean there was just so many extra words
because I couldn't remember exactly how she said it. But she makes that contention, and then later in the movie we see why. Mm-hmm. What has informed her opinion on that. And I wanted to ask you, I feel like we both know each other pretty well, and I feel like we both know each other well enough to know which the other one's going to answer.
Okay.
So I don't know that this will necessarily be one of the arguments that we start.
I don't want to start any arguments.
But what do you think? Do you believe that what he was doing... I'll ask you two separate questions.
Okay.
These are separate things.
Okay.
Do you believe that what he was doing was wrong? Mm-hmm. Do you believe that what he was doing constitutes an affair?
Yes and no. I believe it was wrong. It's very wrong to talk to a member of the sex that you're attracted to.
Correct.
About the problems that you're having in your relationship. If you need to talk to somebody, you should talk to your best friend, your parent, your therapist.
A pastor.
Not somebody that you could get naked with.
Correct.
That's not okay.
I agree.
I don't think it's an affair, though. No, I think it could lead to an affair very easily, but I don't think it is.
And I agree with that, too. I don't think it's technically an affair. I think it's very wrong, though. Mm-hmm. I think it's very damaging to a relationship for all the reasons that you said. And like you said, because his argument is, I needed something to talk to. And she's like, you got to talk to me about our problems. Mm-hmm. Now, I both agree and disagree with her on that because, yes, he could and should talk to his wife about the problems they're having. But also, it's helpful a lot of times to talk to a neutral party, to somebody else that you can like kind of vent to. Because there are things he could say to a friend or whatever that he would not say to her.
And that he couldn't say to her because... she's biased. I mean, she's not going to see his point of view when he's talking about her.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. So, like I said, I mean, I see her point, but he also should have someone else he can talk to. But to your point, it shouldn't be someone he could have a relationship with, that he could have an affair with, because that's a bad slippery slope to go down. You start talking about all the things that your wife isn't doing. Or that your wife is doing that you don't want her to do, and all that, then this woman could be like, "Oh, I can, I would cook for you. I'd have sex with you. I'd do this. I'd do like you know what I mean, like whatever his complaints are, like, I mean, it's So it's not a good. It was bad on his part, and he never acknowledged that till the end of the movie. But like we were saying before, I feel like the movie is sort of on Bruce Willis's side, and I feel like there's something missing there. I guess that's my only really big complaint about the movie is, like I said, we get all of what's wrong with Michelle Pfeiffer's character. She's anal. She's too uptight. She can't relax. She can't have fun. I get it. And I get that he's too free and wild and like doesn't take responsibility and stuff. And we see a little bit of that, but I would have liked to have seen more examples of him not doing that. Because we only get one really good one where they're driving because their kids go to summer camp for the entire summer.
Crazy.
I've never understood sending your kids away for 3 months.
No way. Like, I went to summer camp as a kid, and it was 1 week, and I wouldn't have been able to stand it if it was longer.
Yeah, that's crazy to me. But they're driving there, and they're late. Probably because he was late getting them ready or getting out the door or whatever. They're late, and he's driving behind this giant... it's a house.
Yeah, it's like one of those oversized load they're moving at home, yeah.
Yeah, and... he's making all these jokes, and the kids are playing along and everything like kids do. Like, oh, it's a mobile home. It's like, oh, look at that.
Their zip code's changing.
Right, and all these stupid jokes and everything that they're making and stuff. It is fun family time. But she's, like, trying to say, hey, can you go around? Like, she's trying to be nice. Like, okay, can we go around? Like, I want to do this. And no one's listening to her or acknowledging what she's saying.
Right.
And then... finally she explodes, is like, go around the fucking house. And they all stare at her like she's crazy. And it's like, I wanted to scream at them, you're the fucking assholes who aren't listening to her.
Yeah.
Like, because, and they were almost late. They almost missed the bus. What a fucking disaster that would have been. Like, I get the idea that it's okay to relax and have fun sometimes, but it's also okay to, like, hey, we gotta fucking get shit done.
Yeah.
You know, like, you need both. And them not acknowledging her at all, it wasn't cool. And that was the one scene where I'm like, okay, I totally see her point of view. Everything else was mostly just like her being uptight, didn't want to have sex right now, she wasn't being spontaneous and stuff like that, and him being upset by that, and like, you know, you would have, before you would have been different, you would have done this or whatever.
Yeah, there was a scene when they were younger. You could tell when his hair was longer and hers was shorter.
Oh my
That's how I
God.
could tell.
This movie should have been called The Story of a Bunch of Terrible Wigs.
But they were messing around in the kitchen, like making out, getting ready to have sex on the kitchen table.
While George Bush talked about Saddam Hussein.
And she's like, oh no, the tooth fairy. You have to go,
Real quick. That was one of the best lines. He's fucking making out with her and stuff. And she goes, oh no, the tooth fairy. He looks at him and goes, where?
That was hilarious. But it's a very good picture of what their life is like. Like, they're making out. It looks hot and heavy. Her brain is on the tooth fairy.
Yeah.
And they rock, paper, scissors for who's going to go take care of this tooth. Mm-hmm. And she's like, because we have to take care of it now or we might forget later. Like, how can you come back and just have hot sex after that?
Yeah, and if from a guy's, I don't know about a girl, but from a guy's perspective, you hear something like that and you're like, well, I must not be that good because she ain't fucking thinking about me. She's thinking about the tooth fairy.
Well, I mean, women often, especially like, I think women with like small children have so much going on in their brains. You know, it's probably hard.
I guess I get it. But, it's like it can be a turnoff for a guy. And that's one of those things where it's like you're completely on his side. I think everyone, even the women in the audience, are like, mostly on his side. Even if some people could be like, oh, yeah, I could see that, like, not wanting to forget the tooth fairy or whatever. But, like, I think most people are like, what the fuck? Have sex and then do, like, he's asleep.
Yeah.
Write yourself a note if you need to and put it on the thing. But yeah, like, and there were a lot of scenes like that in the movie where we saw things from his perspective much more than from her perspective. There was a few we saw from his perspective, from her perspective of him, but like not enough. I don't think. I feel like the movie would have aided by showing what was wrong with Bruce Willis a little bit more.
Okay, I can see that.
Because I wanted to be more on her side than the movie was pulling me in,
Well, I think it's because they gave us such a big thing for him that, he was at least emotionally, in unfaithful to her or whatever.
Yeah.
And she didn't have anything big. She just had a bunch of anal retentive things.
Speaking of big and anal and and affairs, do you think she fucked Tim Matheson?
No.
Really?
I don't think so, no.
Wow.
You do?
I kind of think she did.
Why?
Because he came out so happy from the kitchen. No,
they were cooking.
Because here's the thing. Because this is such like a breezy overview of things, I want to know how long it's been. Mm-hmm. Because, well, I guess we do kind of know, right? Because they go up for Parents' Week. She hasn't connected with Tim Matheson by that point. How long do they say till they pick up the kids? Is it a week? Or 2 weeks?
After Parents' Night? Parents' Night was in the middle. I think they still had 6 weeks.
Okay, so it could have been a long time then that they're not with each other and stuff like that. She and Tim Matheson, who's their dentist, they like connect at a fucking bookstore or something like that. and he's taking Thai cooking classes. He invites her to join him. Mm-hmm. He does not know they're separated. I don't think this guy had good intentions from the start.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's clear that, like, because later he's like, oh, every time you brought the kids in, I was like, oh, good, I get to see her, you know, kind of thing.
You know, she had that bite guard at Parents' Night, so she had already
you're right.
been dating him, I think, at Parents' Night. Like, they ran into each other at the bookstore pretty early in the summer. At first, he stopped the buses from leaving, and it was like, oh, he's saving the day. Like,
so I think they definitely fucked.
I still don't.
Because, like, I think it's been a while since they've seen each other. Like, at the cooking class, she tells him that. But, like, then we see them a couple different times. And then when he comes to say that he sees things from her point of view and he apologizes and everything, like, Tim Matheson comes out. And this is right before they're going to pick up the kids, like a day or two before. Mm. And he's like, we should figure out how we're going to tell the kids. And, like, you know, he gets the macho guy, stone face, like, you know, walk away kind of thing.
Yeah, you've broken my heart and I'm closing up. Yeah.
What's there were two knife to the chest moments. One from him and one from her. I remember the one from her when they drop the kids off and they come back and he's like, I remember the one from him now too. But he's like, hey, isn't this the point where we're supposed to say, like, this happens to everyone and, like, let's try to get through this and stuff like that. And then she just fucking leaves.
Yeah, she just doesn't say anything and goes in the house.
Gets out of the car and leaves. The one from him is their anniversary.
Yeah, the kids are like, oh, you know, it's your anniversary. Where are you going to go for dinner? They're all excited. And after the kids leave the room, he's like, I don't care where we go for dinner.
Yeah, I don't even care if we end up together.
Yeah. And that would be really hurtful.
Fuck yeah. But yeah, it's, I guess because they do give him that big thing. And that's another thing where it's like, you know, we're only going over the surface of all this stuff. That's why we don't get to know, like, in a movie that was dealing a lot more with detail and minutia of this kind of thing, we would actually see the woman. We would see their conversations. Mm-hmm. We would, like, you know, we'd know a lot more about that situation.
And we'd know if she had sex with Tim Matheson.
Yeah, I guess so. The point, I suppose, is that he doesn't care. Yeah. If she did, I know it's not an affair to me because they were separated. Mm. I know they're not. I know they're not divorced or whatever, but they've already had the conversations of, like, we're done. You know, like, I don't think it's being unfaithful because they already tried to fix their marriage. They addressed all this stuff and everything. They went through everything, and then they said, look, we're breaking up.
Yeah.
I think from that point on, once you make that declaration and you physically separate and are living on your own at that point, I don't consider it cheating.
Well, yeah, he'd moved out and gotten his own place and everything.
Yeah, I don't consider it cheating at that point because it's like it's not a lie. It's not a subversion. You guys know you're not gonna. You know you're breaking up, basically. Yeah. So that's the big difference to me.
And then at the end of the movie, when she does her big, you know, monologue of, like, you know, everybody has annoying things. Mm-hmm. You know, at least I know what yours are, or something like that. Like, I don't want to have to learn a new person. Like, I think
she's talking about Tim Matheson.
Yeah, I think part of what was going on there is not just that she wanted him back, but that she was realizing she didn't want Tim Matheson.
Yeah,
I think those things were happening simultaneously inside of her.
I think she was. Well, I think what she realized is, it's not him. It's some of it's me.
Oh, maybe.
Like, I think that's what she was realizing is, like, oh fuck, like, I'm having some of the same problems with this guy that I had with him because some of it's just coming from me, and I think she got that for the first time. Like I told you, because we talked a little about this before we recorded and stuff. Like I told you, to me, the big thing, and I think the movie has the same sort of point of view. The big thing to me is that you have to figure out what matters and what doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. And so many of these little things that, like, she gets annoyed at doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, is we don't get a lot of that from him. That's another thing I would like, you know. Yeah, like, you know, like not changing the window washer fluid and stuff like that. Like, I get it, it's fucking annoying sometimes or whatever, but does that matter?
Well, she has to take care of everything, it sounds like. I mean, they do point that out. It's not just the windshield wiper fluid.
Yeah.
I mean, that's some of their fighting is, you know, her pointing out, like, if I don't take care of things, they just won't be taken care of. Or, like, he's defending himself saying, I'm not a third child.
He says that a couple times in the movie.
Because that's how she feels about him. She feels like she has to be responsible for everything.
And I don't think she's the first person to say that to him.
Oh, you think he was married before?
I don't think he was married before, but I like maybe other relationships, other people he dated or something like that. I feel like he's heard that before, not like being a child or being childish or something like that. Because he says it like twice in the movie, and he's very defensive about it both times. And it just feels like there's a lot of underlying, going back a long way, trauma and defensiveness when it comes to that.
Sure, but they've also been married for 15 years.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
And even though we don't see her say it, I feel like he's reliving her saying it. I feel like he's defending from an old wound that she gave him.
Yeah, maybe. But yeah, I mean, like, it's hard to say it's uplifting, and it's hard to say it's, like, I don't think you would go, if you were dating, it's definitely not a date movie, I don't think.
No.
This is like a scare off somebody kind of movie. But, because it's not rosy about marriage and stuff like that. But it does, it's the day in, day out work, you know? Mm-hmm. And I think the movie gets a lot right about what marriage is like. But I think in not getting too specific about this specific couple, I think they're trying to make a broader point about marriages in general and why marriages fail.
Yeah, and I think even the problems they're having are stereotypical to their gender.
Yes,
so,
agreed.
You know, I definitely see they're making some broad statements.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's the point of the movie. The movie wants to talk about marriage in general, as opposed to these particular characters in particular.
And their friends brought up the handful of problems they maybe weren't having.
Yeah.
You know, like the one guy was cheating on his wife on the internet, basically, but not really.
Oh, that's the other question I wanted to ask you. So they're having cyber sex. Yeah. Paul Reiser's having cyber sex with somebody. Is that cheating?
Now, he said they're typing, so it's all text. It's not visual. It's not like they have webcams or something.
Sure.
I don't know. I don't think so.
I do.
You do?
Yeah, if you're, I think that's different than unloading your problems on a woman or whatever. Like, you know, when you're trying to get someone off, even if it's through words, and they're trying to get you off, even if it's through words, I think that's an affair. I could see the argument that it's not. Like, it's definitely wrong. It's not a thing. It's definitely
agreed.
Wrong. But I think it's a fine line. But I think it's too sexual. So I think yes, it is. That's my opinion.
And was it his wife who didn't care about sex?
Yeah, that was the one that was like the 30-second massage woman and stuff.
Yeah,
because Rob Reiner was with Rita Wilson.
Yeah, so she just didn't care at all. She would pretend to. Mm-hmm. She was like, I pretended to fall asleep, yeah. And then it backfired on me because he pretended to be asleep when the baby cried.
Yeah,
and then they talk about if he would have just taken care of the baby, you would have been all about it. And that's true though. Like, women are so their sex drive is so connected to their emotions, and having, you know, that kind of help, I think, would probably get them there.
Well, again, I think empathy it goes a long way, you know. And then like the women talk about things that I think are probably like speak to women a lot. It's hard for me to say, but at this lunch that we're talking about, the guys say a couple things that I think speak to guys a little bit too. Like Rob Reiner particularly says that he connected with this woman, this mysterious woman or whatever, just somebody he met on the street. And he was telling her a joke or whatever, and the way she laughed, it reminded him of the way his wife used to laugh at his jokes, and like that's a thing that's like gone or whatever now. And how like that filled him, like he he loved that feeling. And I think that's true for guys where, like, guys don't generally get compliments a ton, you know, and guys don't get, like, things that touch their emotions that much, like that. Things that, I don't know, validate their whatever, their ego or their sense of self-worth or however you want to say it. And so when those things happen, like, you can, like walk up to any random guy in the street and be like, hey, you know, what was, like, the last time you got a compliment or whatever, like, or, you know, can you tell me about some, like, a compliment someone gave you in, like, 9th grade or whatever? And, like, they'll remember that shit. Like, fucking guys hold on to that stuff. That's a big thing that I think is universal with guys.
Yeah, I can see that.
I think I also, like, I don't know, I liked Rob Reiner's character and what's his name? I want to call him Donnie because that was his name in Bye Bye Love. But
Paul Reiser.
Paul Reiser, he's like, so did you go after this girl to try to have sex with her or whatever? And he's like, I could never do it. Like, you know, so it's like he did have this moment with this woman, but like it never would cross his mind to cheat on his wife.
Well, that's good.
Yeah. No, that's good. But like, it made me respect the character.
Yeah.
Because he was so adamantly, no, there's no way.
So you think that Michelle Pfeiffer's character slept with another guy, and you don't think Bruce Willis's character slept with another girl?
No, I don't think he slept with. We don't see, at least.
There's no indication.
The
of
movie
it, yeah.
doesn't present that would have happened at any point.
I don't know. It's just so hard for me to imagine her having sex with.
Tim Matheson.
Yeah.
Michelle Pfeiffer and Tim Matheson having sex.
No. I mean, her character. I can't. It's hard to imagine her character
maybe
relaxing enough to, you know, actually go to bed with somebody. She couldn't even do it with her husband in 15 years. How's she going to do it with a stranger?
And maybe she didn't. Maybe she was like, I could be wrong, but maybe she was like, I want to take it really slow or whatever. And he was quite smitten with her. It was very clear.
Yeah.
So maybe he agreed to take it slow or whatever.
He's SOL now.
Yeah, no kidding. But I mean, like, that's definitely a possibility. But it seems like they had like a 6 week or so, 4, 5, 6 week long relationship here. It's hard for me to believe 4, 5, 6 weeks they didn't have sex.
Yeah.
But obviously Bruce Willis doesn't care because we never get. I was waiting for it. We never get the him asking the question.
But I mean, there was no time for that. I mean,
yeah, I guess
he shows up at the house, is trying to apologize and like get her back. Mm-hmm. Sees the guy at the house, like, we need to tell the kids. And then the next time we see them is when they're going to go get the kids, and then she does her monologue and they get back together. There's no time for a discussion about that guy.
There's a part where she goes to his apartment when they're bringing the couch, and they start talking and everything, and they talk about how they're going to tell the kids, when they're going to tell the kids, where they're going to tell the kids. And that's when he's like, it should be when we pick them up. Okay. And he suggests they go to Chow Funds.
Oh, yeah.
And she's like, no, because we can't talk in that place. It's too loud. He's like, okay, we'll go home then. Because that's the whole thing. So I thought in that scene there would have been a, like, did you sleep with him? Like, question or something. But
he probably didn't want to know.
It never came. I'm sure he didn't. And, you know.
Like me. I wouldn't want to know.
No, I know. I get to... Everyone, I get
no,
to...
you do not.
I get to have sex with whoever I want as long as I don't tell her.
I just don't want to know. Doesn't mean it's okay.
Anyway, so... I really, really liked the movie.
Yeah, me too.
I think the strength of the performances from Michelle Pfeiffer and Bruce Willis elevate the movie a lot. And because, like I said, it's not an intimate story, but their chemistry and the way they are on screen together creates a lot of intimacy. Mm-hmm. So it makes it more of an intimate movie, even though we're seeing a lot of the outside of their marriage and a little bit of the inside of their marriage, but not the real inside of their marriage.
Yeah.
And you know, I think it works. The performances and the way the script is structured, I think, really work. I mean, it was, yeah, I enjoyed it a lot. I thought it was very powerful, and it said a lot of interesting things about relationships.
Yeah, agreed. I very much enjoyed it. Definitely recommend.
And it gave the opportunity for the dad from Just the 10 of Us to get another acting credit under his belt. He was Mr. Kirby.
Oh, okay.
We're the Kirbys from Cleveland, or whatever, remember?
Yeah, they were annoying.
You don't remember Just the 10 of Us?
No.
Oh. Heather Langenkamp was in that.
I remember her from Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yeah, she was one of the daughters. It was a spin-off of Growing Pains.
Oh, no, I never saw it.
He was like the gym teacher or whatever. And then he and his, like, I don't know, 8 daughters or whatever the fuck he had moved to somewhere else and have their own show.
Okay.
You should check out Just the 10 of Us.
If they ever like released on VHS, I'm assuming it's not still playing.
I assume you can find it at like noon on Channel 20 or something like that.
I don't think so. I am an avid TV guide reader.
Oh yeah,
and I don't remember seeing this show.
You're a guider. Anyway, that is the episode for the week. Carol, tell people where they can find their own chow funds.
You can write us at latefee1994@AOL.com.
Mm-hmm.
Check out our website at www.retrolatefee.com.
Yep.
And share the tapes with your friends.
And we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.